Okay, so today we get to move on to our measurement unit. This is the beginning of our measurement unit, and we're starting with metric. The reason we like to start with metric is because it is based on that base 10 system. So in science, you guys have already been working a lot with the metric system, and with place value, it's on a base 10 system. So I'm going to teach you a couple of ways that you can convert between metric conversions. And then also using the base 10 system as well, so that it's as simple as moving that decimal that we've been practicing so much this year already. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about the different types of measurement. The first one that you have is length. And when we're talking about the metric system, we measure length in meters. So in the metric system, length is always measured in meters. Now that can include things like millimeters, centimeters, kilometers, a lot of different types, but we're going to go over those prefixes and what they mean in just a minute. For mass in the metric system, we measure in grams. So in science class, you've probably already been doing some measurement. And you've probably measured the mass of some things. How much something weighs is what mass means. Volume is capacity. So how much, like a beaker in science or a cup, can hold of liquid. So volume, also known as capacity, when we measure that in metric, it is considered liters. So we measure volume or capacity in liters. Okay. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at some different prefixes that are going to be really common in the metric system. There's also, if you look below, you'll see a bunch of letters. It says K, H, D, U, and it keeps going. Okay, that is to help you remember your prefixes, because the metric system, again, is based on meters, grams, and liters, but you can go up and down from that one basic measurement. So in our prefix column, you'll notice on the left side, the first one that I have is a kilo. Kilo is valued at 1,000, and we write K, a little k, to represent kilo. So if I wanted to write kilometers, I would have a K and an M to represent kilometers, because kilo is a prefix. Hecto is going to be represented with an H. It represents 100. Deca with a K represents 10. It kind of sounds like decade. So that's kind of your hint to remember that deca is 10. And we use DA for that. The next one is my basic unit of measure. So when we were talking about the different ways to measure in the metric system, we had length, mass, and volume. We talked about the meters, the grams, and the liters. So the one basic unit of measure for a meter is going to be the letter M, and it's a lowercase m. For a liter, we're going to use an uppercase L. The reason we use an uppercase L is because if you use a lowercase l, it can be confused with the number 1. So we don't want to write 1 liter and somebody think it looks like an 11. So you want to make sure you use an uppercase L for a liter and then a G for a gram. Then we're moving down to the deci. So deci is a prefix to represent 1/10. So we're starting to get smaller now. So 1/10 for a deci will be represented with a lowercase d. So if I wanted to represent like a decimeter, then it would be a d, lowercase d, m. Then I have the centi, which sounds kind of like century. And that help, or a centipede, which helps you to remember that it represents 100. There are 100 centimeters in 1 meter, and we represent centi with a lowercase c. And then milli is represented with a lowercase m. Okay, so now we're moving on to how to convert between different units of measure. So there's 2 ways that I like to teach it. One is kind of like a graphic organizer. So you see sometimes graphic organizers in language arts, and it's how you organize your writing and your thoughts to put together a paper. In math, we can have graphic organizers as well, and I call this the 3-box method. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a rectangle that looks like this, and I'm going to separate it into 3 columns and then split it in half. so that I have 6 total boxes. Okay, now for example, if I wanted to convert 1 meter into milliliters, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to label my unit. So over here, whatever my label is for my measurement is what I'm going to put here. So if I'm changing a meter to a millimeter, then I need to plug in what I know to be true about a meter and a millimeter. So therefore 1 meter equals 1,000 millimeters. So if I want to know how much 5 meters is equal to, then I can look and see that to get from 1 to 5, I multiply by 5. So here I times 5. It's kind of like fractions, writing an equivalent fraction almost. If you can almost picture this being like a fraction, 1 over 1,000 is equal to 5 over, whatever I do to the top, I have to do to the bottom. So this should be 5,000. So 5,000 millimeters is equal to 5 meters. I forgot my label there. Okay. There's another way to do this as well, and this is probably the most common way that kids choose to solve it because it's what we've been doing with that base 10 system, like I was saying earlier. So there's a saying that I've always taught my students, and it's King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. It helps you to remember the beginning of each of the prefixes. It goes in order greatest to smallest with my unit of measure in the middle. So what the U stands for is my meter, my liter, and my gram. The rest of these are my prefixes that go along with these. So this is how this will work. If I said we have a problem that looks like this, 1,200 centimeters is equal to blank kilometers. Okay, I want to figure out how many kilometers are equivalent to 1,200 centimeters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my prefix that matches this one here. I have a little c, so I'm going to come into my mnemonic device here, and I'm going to find my c. So this is where I'm starting, and we're going to do a lot of practice with this in just a minute. So here's where I start. I want to end up at the K. So I want to end up all the way over here. So this is where I start. If I move to the left, how many places do I need to move to the left to get to the K? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places to the left, which means that in this number, 1,200, I would start at the end and I would move this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places to the left. So here's where my decimal is, and I plug in a 0. So my answer becomes 0.012. I can drop the zeros at the end, but you can leave them if you want to. So 1,200 centimeters is equal to 12 thousandths of a kilometer. Okay, let's do another one just so you can see it again. I'm going to do a different color this time. Okay, so if I say 4 8/10 liters is equal to how many milliliters? Okay, this time the unit that I know is a plain liter, 1 liter. So right here at the U in the middle, this is my starting place. I want to get all the way down to the milli. So that is going to be right here. So to get there, I'm going to move to the right 1, 2, 3 places. So that means that I'm going to take 4.8 and I'm going to move my decimal that's already existing this time 3 places to the right. 1, 2, 3, and plug in zeros. So my answer is 4,800 milliliters is equal to 4 8/10 liters. Okay, the mnemonic device, King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. This is going to help you figure out where to start and where you need to end up and how many places to move a decimal. The important thing to remember is if you don't have a decimal, like in this example here, you're always going to start at the end of your number because it's a whole number. So that decimal would just start at the end, and then you either move left or right depending on what your mnemonic device is telling you. Okay, so let's look at some more practice problems over here. We want to look at number 1, and it says 411 kilograms is equal to how many grams? So what I'm going to recommend that you do is write out that mnemonic device. So King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. So I'm starting, notice that I have a kilogram that I am starting with. So I'm going to start here, and I want to convert to a regular gram. Don't forget that your unit, your U, represents a little g, a little m, and a plain L. 1 gram, 1 liter, 1 meter. Okay, so I want to get here. So that means I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 places to the right. Now, if I have 411, this is my number that I start with. I'm going to start at the end of my number because it's a whole number, and I'm moving 1, 2, 3 places to the right, and I plug in zeros. So my answer is going to be 411,000 grams is equal to 411 kilograms. Okay, number 2 says 5 and 626 thousandths liters is equal to how many centiliters? So the first thing that I want to do again, I'm going to change my color again, is write out my mnemonic device. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. I'm starting with a liter right here in the middle, and I want to get to a centiliter. So I'm going to move 1, 2 places to the right. So I'm going to take my existing decimal here and move 1, 2 places to the right. So my new number will be 562.6. I hope that this is starting to kind of make sense. If not, we're going to keep working through it. You're going to see some more examples. So let's look at number 3. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. Okay, I'm starting with a milliliter. That means I'm way down here. Okay, I'm going all the way up to a kiloliter. So that means I need to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places to the left. Now notice I don't have a decimal here. So I'm going to write 80. I'm going to start my decimal at the end since it is a whole number. And remember, I got to move 6 places to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My decimal is here, and I plug in a 0 for each of those gaps that I didn't have a number for. So my answer is going to look like this, 0.000008. The way that you read that is 800 thousandths. So this is my tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10 thousandths, 100 thousandths. Okay, next one. And guys, you can pause this anytime and go back, rewind, whatever you need to do so that you can hear the example, hear the explanation again. Okay, number 4. And if you want to try it on your own, pause it and then play it, and you can check and see if you did it right. Start seeing if you can get this. All right, King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. I'm starting with a centimeter, so right here. And I want to move to 1 meter. This is not to be confused with a milliliter. Don't forget that your unit of measure right here consists of your meter, your liter, and your gram. If this M right here was a millimeter, it would have 2 M's. So this is what I see the most mistakes made by, is because you see this and you instantly think it means this M, which is not true. It means this M as my unit. Okay, so I know that I'm going to end up at the middle where the U is, and so I want to move 1, 2 places to the left. Since I already have a decimal, in my number, I'm just going to move that decimal 1, 2 places to the left and plug in a 0. So it's 0.025 meters. Okay, again, if you want to try the next one and then check it, you can. So pause it, and then when you're done, play, and then you can check. So King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. All right, this time I'm starting with a milligram. That's my prefix, milli. I'm going to a plain gram right here. So 1, 2, 3 places to the left. 16,005 is a whole number, so I'm going to start my decimal at the end, and I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3 places to the left. So my answer is 16.005 grams. Okay, what if I ask you to compare, and I say, I want you to compare 480 liters with 50 hectoliters? Okay, well, I would need to make sure that one of these is converted into the same thing as the other, so I can choose. If I want to leave them in liters, then I need to change the hectoliter. I need to convert this number into liters. Or if I want to make this one into hectoliters, then I would need to make this into hectoliters. Either way, I want to still use my mnemonic device. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. So what I'm going to do is I am going to change it into hectoliters. I'm going to take 480 and I'm going to move it into a hectoliter. So I have a basic unit of measure of a liter, and I want to change it to hectoliters. So I'm moving 1, 2 places to the left. So I would start at the end of my number and go 1, 2 places to the left. So what I'm comparing is 4.80 hectoliters, or 4.8 hectoliters, to 50, which now you can see that this one is much bigger. Okay, if you want to try the next one, just hit pause and then play when you're ready to check. On this one, I'm going to change my meters to centimeters. So King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. I'm going from a basic meter to a centimeter, so 2 places to the right. So 11, and then 1, 2, fill in zeros. So 1,100 centimeters is greater than 910 centimeters. Okay, what if you have it in word problem form? It says, the weight of a flash drive is 3 grams. Convert the measurement to centigrams. So I have centigrams and grams. So I want to set up my problem so that I can see it like all the others. I know where I'm starting. I know where I need to end up. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. I hope that saying is stuck in your head at the end of today, because you're going to be using it today and tomorrow. All right, my basic unit of measure, G, is right in the middle, and I'm moving to a centigram, which is 2 places to the right. So if 3 is my number, I'm going to start at the end and go 2 places to the right, which makes it 300 centigrams. And then the last one for today in our notes says the distance between cell phone company A and B is 87 meters. Okay, so I'm going to write down 87 meters. I want to convert the measurement to centimeters. So King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. As you do this more and more, you're going to start to remember these more common conversions with centimeters, millimeters, regular meters, kilometers. But for now, if you don't feel 100% sure, always jot down your acronym, and then you can use that to be sure you're doing the right conversion. Okay, my regular meter is in the middle. Again, not to be confused with a millimeter. So start in the middle, I'm going to a centimeter, so I'm going to move 2 places to the right. I start at the end, 1, 2, fill in zeros. So 8,700 centimeters. You guys can also use that 3-box method. So if I knew, just to go back to that, if I knew that there's 1 meter for every 100 centimeters, and I know that I have 87 meters, then I can see that relationship. To get from 1 to 87, I'm multiplying by 87. 100 times 87 is just 8,700. So either way you do it is fine. You pick a method that you like, and then you stick with that one, okay? So today you're gonna be practicing just metric length. It's all gonna be length. So meters, kilometers, centimeters, millimeters. That's what you're gonna be working with today. You have 11.1 practice page, and then you'll get to check it tomorrow, and tomorrow you'll be focusing on capacity and also mass. So that's what you're gonna be working on. You can always come back to this video to watch it again, to hear me explain it again if you're still confused. Try your best, go back, use your notes, and you should be good to go. So your next set of notes that you'll hear from me will be about the customary measurement system.